Documented that the majority of the disciples were given a chance to not be executed. All they had to do was say that it didn't happen, but then they died. Would you die the way they died for a lie?
I wouldn't. I think one of the two most interesting pieces of evidence, because the hard part is too with something.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm not. I love it. I'm not 100% flat earther. Like, I'm not like. Welcome back to another episode of Truth Disorder. Today we got a fun lineup for you. We're going to talk about everything under the sun, from the Shroud of Turin, exposing the images of Jesus Christ, all the way to some other interesting topics that both Charles and Gary have for us. Glad to have you here. My name's Ernest.
My name's Charles. I'm going to be bringing it back to the current events. We're going to be talking about the arrest of a recent judge and her weird actions that led to that happening.
And I'm Gary.
I'm Gary. Gary's weirded out right now with no headphones.
Yeah, it's like I can't lock in.
You can't.
I'm just distracted by everything. Just the silence is distracting me.
Gary's ADHD.
Oh,
Yeah,
so bad, so bad. Like I'm very understimulated right now. And
Here, have some sugar.
That's not gonna help.
Have some sugar. We'll get you a whiskey Coke. It'll be great, dude.
Okay.
Actually,
Whiskey.
you're a tequila guy. My bad.
Yeah, it's fine.
Tequila sunsets.
What do I do with my hands?
I don't know. Put them down.
All right, let's get this thing moving.
Okay.
Ernest, go ahead.
So
What
the
do we
Shroud
got?
of Turin. Did you see the images that were revealed?
Oh yeah.
Just
Absolutely.
mind blowing.
Well, and the most incredible part for me is coming from the scientific aspect of it is, one, they did the radiocarbon dating, and it actually matches the correct time frame as well, which has
Right.
never happened with a lot of the different mystical artifacts that have come up as well.
Are the headsets not over there? 'Cause I'm getting a freaking headset. I can't do this.
All right, bring the headset for at least two of us.
It's fine.
But so I was watching the Michael Knowles podcast, and the Michael Knowles podcast, he basically has a gentleman on there who is a pastor, and he's telling him about this experience that the person who actually found the images of Jesus Christ would have had in the dark room. So there is a setting with this particular image that you can find online that exposes the actual image of Jesus Christ, his face, or what would have been him at one time, in the Shroud of Turin, which is super, super gnarly. Like, when I first saw it in the Michael Knowles podcast, I was kind of like, dude. So I had to pause. I paused the screen, and this is where I sent y'all the screenshot or that image. I was like, dude, I had to try it. And that image that I sent was actually with that filter turned on. So if you go into your accessibility inside of your settings portal on your iPhone, there is a smart sense setting that you can turn on when looking at this image. And when you turn it on, if you open up your camera app and you're looking at the image, it actually reveals the outline of Jesus Christ's face
And the damage he incurred from what he was doing, or what they were doing to him. Yeah, this is so much better. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what it is. I don't know how you do it, but
For me, it's the opposite, actually. When I hear myself talking, I'll start focusing on I'm talking, and then my brain just short circuits.
I'm pretty sure I'm on the spectrum.
Yes.
So I need to regulate where my tone is at, and
Okay.
I'll just be talking like this all day.
Yeah, man.
What is that for? Isn't that from Family Guy, or is it Simpsons?
What isn't from Family Guy and The
I
Simpsons?
don't know.
Yeah, at
That's
this
the
point,
most
yeah.
general statement you've ever said in this podcast.
But research is actually suggesting that the Shroud of the Turin is a medieval artifact dated from 1260 through 1390 AD, which is leading to conspiracy theories. They call us conspiracy theorists. And now they're flipping the script, because a lot of people who may not want to believe that this is actually the image of Jesus Christ are questioning if it in fact is the Shroud of the Turin. So
What else do people need, though?
I don't know how much more evidence you need to believe in Jesus Christ and that he actually roamed this earth. Whether or not the Bible is actually true, I believe it is open to their interpretation. But
Isn't it historically documented that the majority of the disciples were given a chance to not be executed. All they had to do was say that it didn't happen, but then they died. I think one of the most amazing things that I've heard, just very poignant, is that would you die the way they died for a lie?
I wouldn't. I think one of the two most interesting pieces of evidence, because the hard part is too with something like this, it's not like one we can go back and check, and also because of that vast gulf of time, and because of the circumstances of what the question is, there's no like scientific test. You know, we can't test it. So I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. I think the two most interesting pieces of evidence for the veracity of Jesus and his story was the eyewitness accounts, the amount of people who stated that they were aware of the fact that he had resurrected, whether that was a personal or they had heard it from a figure who had authority in the area. And then also Pontius Pilate. Mm-hmm. How many men do you think Pontius Pilate executed on behalf of the Roman state over his tenure as a legionnaire?
Right.
Quite a lot. And I think we can see now today too, there are a lot of people who are insane and think that they're a religious figure, or they're the second coming of Jesus, or Buddha, or whatever you want to label you want to put on it. And usually when they're executed, or when they're executed back then, you didn't begin following them as the Lord and Savior. But Pontius Pilate did. I think that speaks quite a bit as well.
So I went and saw the movie The King of Kings this weekend.
How was that?
I absolutely loved it. My son was scared through some parts, but I think it's something that every child should go see, because it's not a fear of like, oh my God, there's a monster under the bed. It's the fear of actually what's happening to Jesus Christ, like what's happening to him, right? Mm-hmm. Like the crucifixion, how he was treated by the Roman government, right? Like how they wanted to crucify him at the cross because people were praising him for his miracles that he was performing. You know, like curing, I forget the disciple's name or the villager's name at the time, but he couldn't see or walk, right? And Jesus basically cured him and looked to all the disciples and all his followers and said, hey, you know, why do you bring this man to me for healing instead of praying for him, right? And he still, you know, cured him and healed him and made him walk again and see again. But I absolutely love the movie. I want to buy it once it comes out. I think it is a good movie for every kid to go see.
We actually just started an Angel Guild subscription. Do you know what Angel Guild is? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like apparently crowdsourced based off the subscriptions, but it's all family safe. Actually saw, oh my gosh, that it's like a Revelations movie that turned into a show. The Homestead, I think it's called.
Homestead, yeah.
Yeah, and that was really cool. And it's on a series.
That's like an end of the world type show, isn't it?
Yeah, like they have this massive compound that they had prepared ready for the end of the world, and when the end of the world started happening, then they had a protocol to get everybody to the homestead, and now they're just living through life of establishing a homestead. They have that military security, and you kind of see this conflict brewing between the security forces that they hired and the family itself, and then the people that they brought in. So it's a really interesting show so far. It's on a cliffhanger right now just because they're getting more crowdsourcing in order to actually finish the show, but I thought it was amazing. Angel Guild has been really cool, honestly.
I think it is so awesome what Angel Studios has been able to do in the little time that they've been able to do it in. Sure. Their first rise to fame was, of course, The Sound of Freedom. I don't know if you remember that movie or not, but to expose all of the child trafficking and everything like that was going on down in South America.
Everywhere,
essentially. Yeah. But I think it's, and this is why I told my wife, like, this is probably the one movie I will take my son to see about the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, because of who actually made it. Like, if it was a Pixar movie, I might not go see it because they might put pronouns and things in it that don't need to be in it.
You know they would.
I mean, they might not. It's not a question of if they might. It's they will.
Mm-hmm. Right? On the topic of The Sound of Freedom, did you hear about Jim Caviezel's, how he prepped for this role?
No.
Dude, the guy legitimately met with I think it was FBI, I think he was, FBI agent that the movie is actually about, and just interviewed him and asked him about the things that he's seen. And there's actually an interview with that FBI agent on a podcast somewhere where he's actually talking about all of the kinds of files and things that he's actually had to see with his own eyes. and how he's had to pray so hard in order to not get like sucked into that darkness.
Yeah.
And so just to kind of see how, Jim Caviezel's just methodically, gotten into these roles, you can really tell he's changed drastically, just spiritually as a human being. And he honestly just looks so torn up, like, in his psyche. He just looks so jacked up because of the things he's learned because of
the stories he's heard.
the stories he's heard. Exactly.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost similar to like the people, the actors that have actually played the role of Jesus in a lot of these movies.
He's one of them.
Yeah, Mel Gibson's movie, I think he is, right?
I can't wait for the sequel. I mean, that's so weird to say about the movie about Christ, but like the things that Mel Gibson was talking about on the Rogan show, he was saying that he is going to start at creation, and before creation, he's gonna actually basically depict where Satan fell. He's going to start at that point, and then it's going to carry over and explain that part, through the Old Testament, and then get to the resurrection and how it all fulfills prophecy. I'm just so excited about how like he is the imagery. Honestly, anybody can say what they want to say about Mel Gibson, but Mel Gibson is...
People think he's crazy, but I think he's crazy in like a sensical way, right? Like his logic and everything he's talking about makes sense. I mean, you talk about his protocols and things like that he's had friends be cure cancer with.
Yeah, he talked about methylene blue, and that helps with my depression. I've seen... And I've been, like I said, been in cancer groups for 4 years since COVID.
Yeah.
And to see all of them using that ivermectin, fenbendazole, and Rick Simpson oil, and the amount of people that have success from that compared to them being stage 4, going to chemo, and then the doctors just giving up on them, and then they just try that. And, of course, less sugar or no sugar, really.
Yeah.
It's just, it's amazing. And Mel Gibson is not insane, dude. He might be a dick, but... whatever, dude.
I mean, he was the father in Daddy's Home, too. So
well, and I think the other thing to consider is too, a lot of people who create good art are a little crazy.
Yeah,
I don't think his beliefs are crazy. I do think he probably has like maybe like a schiz. I don't want to be a armchair therapist or psychologist, but I think he has like a schizotypical way of thinking, and that's why he's able to create good art. I think that's pretty common, like across history when we look at great artists.
So you guys know what time it is?
Time for another Charles Big
Word of the day.
Yeah. Schizotypal, everybody. Do you need help?
No. That's what we got Google for, my guy.
Let's do it.
You need help.
Well, with the spelling.
Let me guess. Hold on.
Yeah. Let's see what the guess is, everybody.
Schizotypical?
Spell check.
Schizotypal.
It's like, is that like nipple?
Tipple, but lipple.
Is it personality disorder? Okay. Schizotypal personality disorder. A mental health condition characterized by odd or eccentric thinking and behavior, difficulty with social relationships, and unusual beliefs or perceptions.
It's not schizophrenia. It's characterized by some of the main traits, but you don't have the hallucinations, the paranoid delusions, and all the other like much more antisocial issues that go along with it.
I think that's me.
Potentially.
So key characteristics: eccentric behavior and appearance.
Van Gogh was, to be fair.
Social isolation and anxiety, distorted thinking and perceptions.
Also Michelangelo, if I remember correctly.
Odd speech, suspiciousness and paranoia, magical thinking, ideas of reference, constricted affect. What is a constricted affect? They may have a difficulty expressing emotions or may display inappropriate motions. Oh, that's 1000% me.
So while we're on that, what are your thoughts of like Mel Gibson, right? Schizotypal.
Not a diagnosis, just an opinion.
Well, no, he is coming out saying that this whole like finding of this image of Jesus Christ in the Shroud of Turin is supposedly gaslighting, or like it's a distraction
from
of some sort. I don't know. I'll have to pull it up and see what exactly he's talking about. But he is basically just saying that they're deceiving us, right? Like they're hiding something or distracting us from something.
Mel Gibson says that?
Mel Gibson is saying.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he was one of the first ones that said in 2001, what was it? He said that Hollywood is built on the blood of innocent children and that it is surrounded by demons and darkness or something to that effect?
So the claim that Mel Gibson's Shroud is a distraction refers to the perception that his past controversy, particularly his domestic. Well, no, that's not. That's his shroud, not
Mel Gibson's own. Mel Gibson wears a shroud?
No.
What are you searching?
Oh, this is on Grok, okay?
I actually just discovered a new web browser. Yandex, have you guys heard of that? You probably have, right?
Yeah, I used Yandex a lot.
How do you feel about Yandex?
So here we go.
Right.
Here's his video.
Crap. The thorns, the hands, the feet, and the
Sorry for all the fingerprints.
and the hairstyle was from the first century.
What we knew about the Shroud of Turin has been all wrong. Actor Mel Gibson has come onto the scene and has exposed many truths about this mysterious shroud that has the public reeling from the shock. What Mel has revealed during his time on the Joe Rogan podcast will absolutely blow your mind. Many skeptics about the Shroud of Turin have even come out retracing their statements on the validity of the shroud. What has Mel Gibson said that's left people this shocked and baffled? Is there any credibility to the statements he's making?
Oh my God, just get to
Yeah,
it,
just say
AI
it,
British
please.
voice. Come on.
But Mel was confident. With the onset of the
Come on.
How long is this video?
Hold on. Let me find the one with
and there's
him.
an ad?
I don't have YouTube Premium. Sorry. Anyway, continue while I find this. YouTube no ads.
Make it stop.
If you want to browse YouTube with no ads, make sure to download the DuckDuckGo web browser. It's the best one. It has no ads on any website, and it will take great care of you. Also, Brave. Brave does a good job, too.
I used to have Brave.
Yeah, Brave's good.
Yeah.
Ish. My question would
here
be,
we
I would
go.
love to hear him explain about what are they distracting from.
Here we go.
I've been reading about it, and I know that there's some contention, there's some discussion and debate about it, but they used to think that it was only a couple hundred years old.
Yeah.
And now they've changed that.
Yeah, they said no, it is back then.
They also don't understand how it was made, which to me is very fascinating because it's not paint. It's not, they don't know what caused the image itself and how that technology would have even been available
It wasn't
a couple thousand years ago.
an intense light. I mean, atomic. To leave almost like a photographic imprint on a piece of cloth.
Yeah.
And
It's wild. Look, pull that up. Pull the Shroud of Turin up.
Oh, yeah.
It's wild to look at because
yeah.
it's so interesting.
oh yeah. And you can see it, that it depicts a first century Hebrew male because the hairstyle was from the first century, and a Hebrew hairstyle. That he was about 6 feet tall, that he was completely scourged all over his body. He was crucified. That's
Yeah,
it there.
the one on the left is the one on the right is just like an artistic rendition.
That's the face.
Yeah, click on that one. The face. Yeah, that's good enough. Get that
Yeah.
large. That's
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
Yeah. Scourged, beaten,
Yeah.
cracked, the wounds on the thorns, the hands, the feet, and the scourging, and the
So is he saying it's not real?
was from the first.
Sounds like he's saying it's real.
And the pollens.
I think he's questioning the
were from that
technology.
region.
Yeah.
Also, the weave was a first century weave that was typical, and another guy, an
really sounds to me like
archaeologist
he's
who actually
validating it.
Translated the Passion into Aramaic told me that if you look close, you can see the image of the Tiberius coin marks on the eyes. Now, I don't know if that's real or not. I've never actually checked that, but that there's images of Tiberius on the coin.
Because they would put the coins over the eyes.
Yeah, so that would date it. But they have now verified that it does actually go back to that time period. For a while, they were testing pieces that had been repaired in the 13th
Right.
century, or
Right.
you know.
What is the latest on that, Jamie? Can you see? Like,
Okay.
I was trying to get that.
So
Two different Jesus historically absolutely did exist.
Come on. Okay.
is that an Android?
It's an iPad.
It is?
Yeah.
You're using it like an Android.
I'm an Android. You're a droid. I'm a droid. We're all droids.
Okay.
We're Mitchells versus machines, baby.
So on the topic of Christ and prophecy and revelation and stuff, have y'all seen those videos of the Mahdi?
the Mahdi, no.
No. So it's
What
this-
is the Mahdi?
So this
Explain it.
dude, this dude is building up a cult following, and I'm actually really surprised that you guys haven't.
The Mahdi, the Islamic dude that is claiming he's not the leader, or like claiming to be the king or whatever.
Yes, he's claiming to be the king and a direct descendant of Muhammad and the predecessor to Muhammad and Jesus. And according to, he's claiming to be that person. And in Islamic eschatology, he's a messianic figure prophesied to appear at the end times to establish justice and righteousness. So there are people speculating that he may be the Antichrist. Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like heresy to me, to be frank.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if
It's
you're
heretical.
if you're propping yourself up or parading around acting to be a direct ancestor to Jesus Christ and be Jesus Christ like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bible goes against, like, the Bible says not to do that.
Yeah.
And you're doing everything that the Bible says not to do.
But the following is growing. You know, like the meetings, like the people that are at his things. There's even a chant that they already have, and it's seemingly militant.
Well, it's Islamic in nature. Of course, it's militant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So what has he done to actually fulfill?
I don't know
that
where
role?
this dude came from. I was just on the internet one day. And just out of nowhere, I see this dude in a
What's his name? Mahdi?
Mahdi.
Mahdi, Mahdi.
Mahdi.
Yeah, he was just in like black holy clothes. I'm so ignorant to what any of that stuff is called, but he's preaching, right? I don't know where, like, who this person is.
I saw him on stage dressed in all black.
Yeah.
And what looked like a conference, right? With people being like, "Oh, yeah." But I would question, like, the validity of it. Like, what have you done other than just say, "Oh, hey, I'm a direct descendant of Jesus Christ or Muhammad"? Like,
Well, it just really comes down to people or the powers that be, the puppet masters, giving people airtime. Their chosen puppets.
yeah.
They give them airtime and exposure to increase their notoriety.
Well, and
So they're giving him that stage.
yeah. Well, and I've been saying this the last several months with, like, the churches too, right? Like, we see pastors being propped up, kind of like this Mahdi gentleman, saying, you know, where they have their Congress or the congressional people, like, just praising them, you know, and whatever they believe, the people believe, right? And that's always been my hard part with not religion, but with churches.
Organized religion.
Is we're taking the open interpretation of the pastor, and every pastor has a different meaning and a different context of what scripture actually means to them, and they portray that on the people. And a lot of people nowadays, unfortunately, I'm probably going to get banned, but a lot of people nowadays are sheep, right? They believe every single piece of information that they begin given, whether it's right or it's wrong, you know. And that's always been my biggest thing. Like, going through school and to get my education for my bachelor's in software engineering, it was like science. Always question everything, right? Going back to the early school day and age where it was like, what are your 3 references? Cite 3 noteworthy resources before you can tell me that's true. Everybody nowadays is just so quick. Oh, I saw a video online. It must be true. Saw this online. Must be true. Same thing goes with, like, this. Like, this guy, Mahdi, could have created something or done something that propped him up to where he's at, and now people believe he actually is, and that's where he's gaining his noteworthiness from. But even, like, in the churches, I still... It's so hard for new people to get into the churches and the religion because of that. Like, that is one reason why I will not go to CBC. Pastor is really good, don't get me wrong, but I feel like he's too modern day and age, too hip. He tries to appeal to the younger generation, which is great because it brings them into the church. but it also leaves the traditional people who follow like a sour taste.
Well, and that's kind of what we were talking about last week. It's that idea of tradition being the solution to problems that we forgot. Like that's the most important part of the whole thing. Otherwise, you have this weird, hollowed out skin suit of a moral system that you're parading around and making it fit whatever the modern conception is to get the most people into the door, to encourage the most donations and tithes to the church. That's the problem, in my opinion.
Right. Is he raising money? What is he? Do we know what he's doing?
I think he's just raising a following at this point.
The Mahdi is prophesized figure expected to appear before the day of judgment to restore justice and defeat evil, often alongside Jesus. There is no Islamic teaching or widely accepted tradition that describes the Mahdi as a direct ancestor of Jesus.
Are the 12 Shiitic counselors, are they in agreement with that? Are they promoting him?
I don't know. I've literally recently just discovered this guy, so I haven't actually even had a chance to dig in.
I saw him in a video, now that you say that. I think I might have sent
That's
it
a good question.
to
You should actually look that up, because that's a big deal. While you actually look that up, I follow this guy. His name on X is Donnie Darkened. He's been calling out a lot of the false light prophecies, and how just kind of calling out people who idolize political figures regardless of what side you're on. He's very critical of Trump as well, but I appreciate his perspective, because he notes that a lot of folks are being misled to trust in worldly figures, worldly idols, political leaders, instead of actually just getting close to God in prayer and through the word and through church communities, like actual, church communities that are about that community, instead of just go through the motions of being in a building on a weekly basis, which, I can be guilty of, even though I love my church community. There are days where I just say, man, I am exhausted. I'm just going because I'm supposed to go, right? Instead of actually going in order to praise and worship and all that. So one of the things that he says, Donnie Darkin, he said, God could destroy the elites and the wicked rulers with one word if he wanted to. The fact that he hasn't yet is intentional. He's using this to expose where people's faith really is. If your life is built around trying to protect what you have in this world, or trying to reshape the world into what you want it to be, you're going to fall for what's coming. You're going to get swept up into Satan's final deception without even realizing it. Because when the cabal falls, when the world wakes up, when it looks like humanity is finally taking its power back, it's going to feel like everything people ever wanted: justice, freedom, renewal. It'll look good on the surface, but it's a trap. The Bible is clear. This world isn't our home. We're citizens of a kingdom that hasn't arrived yet. The ones who understand that, the ones who fear God more than they fear man, will endure what's coming. They won't join the rebellion. They'll stay rooted in Christ, even when it costs them everything. Almost done. Meanwhile, the people who want the kingdom now, the ones who can't stand God's trial, the ones who refuse to wait on his timing, are going to join the false kingdom. They're going to think they're fighting evil, but they'll actually be fighting against God. That's why the Bible warns us, don't fear the one who can kill the body. Fear the one who can destroy both body and soul in hell. This whole false awakening deception is a heart test. It's going to show you who really loves God and who only loved what they thought God could give them in this life. This dude, he's probably the most scripturally sound person you could follow on X. And I've been following this dude for 6 years now, and literally all of these things that are happening, like I'm not going to call him a prophet, but it's almost like he's prophesied, these, like, I'm just not surprised by a lot of stuff that's happening, because folks like this person here, do their research.
And that's wild, though. Like, the people are calling, like, there's another guy that's on YouTube that claims to be a prophet, that is saying the same thing, like that he said. But I mean, I don't know.
Does he have a specific name? I mean, there are dozens going back to the 8th century of people who claim to be the Mahdi. And in the 21st century, the only two notable ones that Wikipedia at least has is Dia Abdul Zara Kadim, who was killed in Iraq in 2007, not by us, surprisingly, by the local government. And there was another one who, no, that's not him. don't even have a name for this guy. He was a member of the Kurdish Sufis who were imprisoned in Iran and then executed.
So this is going to be my first experience on the Yandex browser.
browser.
I'm gonna look up who is the Mahdi, who is the current Mahdi. Search. That
several.
is in Russian. Oh, okay.
That's the thing with Yandex. Yeah.
Okay, who's
It's a
this is the
Russian
Mahdi
aggregator.
Islam. Who's the Mahdi? Oh man, there's nothing on him. Israel's much awaited world lead. Islam's. Oh my gosh, misspoke. Sorry. That's
Maybe-
crazy. That's insane to me that you can't even find like a single hyperlink on this person.
Well, and I wonder if he's more of talking about a concept instead of a specific person. I wonder if that's what he's referencing. I would wonder when the footage was that we were all referencing earlier.
Apparently, it was recent.
Oh, here you go. His name is Abdullah Hashim Abba al-Sadiq, an Egyptian American who founded the Ahmadi Religion of Peace and Light in 2015, claims to be a messianic figure, describing himself as the Qiyam of the family of Muhammad, the successor of Jesus Christ and the true Pope. His claims have circulated on platforms like TikTok and YouTube recently, attracting thousands of followers, but also significant skepticism. Critics, particularly from Christian and Muslim communities, have labeled him a false messiah, citing biblical and Quranic warnings about deceptive figures.
Yeah, so it doesn't sound like he's accepted by the larger Shiite community as well.
It doesn't say, but let's do a Google search on the interweb here.
It'd probably be much easier to find more
yeah,
things about
yeah,
him.
that's him. That's the video.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, because I remember seeing it the other day too.
Well, and also when I was browsing through Wikipedia earlier on the list of the historical Mahdis, a lot of them, they really just like reformers in a lot of cases. Then there were, of course, people who are using it to establish social and political power, establish their own caliphates.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's generally what we were seeing there.
I wonder what his prior job was. Like, did he ever work at
Starbucks,
a McDonald's?
probably, but
Divinely.
So here's what Wikipedia has on him. Early life: was born to an Egyptian father and American mother. In 2005, Abdullah Hashim and Joseph McGowan attended and filmed a Raelian seminar in Las Vegas, claiming that they were making a student film. They then used footage as the basis of the documentary, which they presented as an expose of the group. He claims to be a follower of Ahmad al-Hassan.
Is there a middle name for his father, Joseph McGowan?
Doesn't give the middle name on here. Just says Joseph McGowan.
I wonder if he was a Fed.
That name sounds very familiar, though.
I'm wondering if he was a Fed, personally.
That's what I'm thinking, right?
Like
Like a
literally
plant?
wouldn't even, literally wouldn't even surprise me.
Yeah.
So, personal life, he's since 2020 or 2012, Abdul Hashim has been married to Noran Al-Karish. They have 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls. He has published The Goal of the Wise, the official gospel of the religion, Arabic, the book, which is 40 doors or chapters, has been translated into Arabic, Urdu, Spanish, French, German, Turkish, Azeri, and Persian.
No job.
No job history. Just came out of nowhere.
Fed.
But I mean, speaking of like deceptive leaders, that is one thing that the Bible is very keen on is we all will be deceived. The true heart will know its route, and the true heart will find its way to God. Which is wild too, because like in the King of Kings, Jesus goes to Peter and tells him, openly, I know you will deceive me, but I forgive you. I will forgive you. 3 times you will be tested. 3 times you will fail.
Oh, deny.
Then
You said deceive.
The 3 times you will deny me.
Yeah.
Right. And it goes on and goes through that whole thing, and that's where my son was like, I'm scared. I'm like, it's all right. Like this is what happened. This is why we're free. This is why we're able to live and to reside on the lands of Jesus because of his sacrifice. And he knew, right? And it calmed him down. He understood. But it was so good because like that movie talked about all that. It talked about deception. It talked about like the early days of Adam and Eve and how the serpent will
Key elements. That's
yeah,
cool.
it which is good for the kids to see, right? Like, because I'm a believer. I might not be like a Bible thumper. Like, I'm not going to go beat somebody upside the head if they don't want to believe it. But I believe it. You know, I'm not, and we all sinned. Everybody sins, right? We pray for forgiveness. No matter what, we sin.
Just never stop trying.
But there's so much like satire and things inside of our everyday lives nowadays that get us to sin. You open Instagram, right?
Goodness, I can't get away.
You open Instagram and you have models basically on there, and it, you know, lust, right? You have you look at it, you're like, oh my god, like she looks cute, right? Right, but that's, I mean, is that considered lust? Am I sinning? But deceptive leaders, I think, you know, going into the churches and like to this guy right here, it says it. So wouldn't that mean we're on the fifth seal technically, like going into Judgment Day?
Yeah.
So
Someone told me about lust. They said, look once, it happens. Look twice, that's a choice.
right.
So it's just crazy. Like you said, there's just so much stimulation everywhere. You know, I'm just casually scrolling Facebook stories, you know, and then I see, oh, cool little present for, you know, your kids or something, scrolling, and then bam, butt cheeks. It's like, where did that come from? What?
You're like, thanks, algorithm, trying to get me in trouble over here.
What are you doing?
Your wife's looking over your shoulder like, Gary.
I'm more worried about my kids, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's like scrolling stories. Oh yeah, look, it's Mariah, and you know, oh my gosh,
yeah.
it's Tori. Oh yeah, butt cheeks. I'm not trying to, you know, goodness gracious, can't get away from it.
So my son recently got accepted to a school, and
Not their butt cheeks, but
I know,
you know,
not
random
their butt cheeks.
Yes. Their school is very hard on the key element of like no outside influence, right? So no technology. They don't have TVs in the room. They don't have any of that stuff.
That's cool.
But it was interesting because they got to wear uniforms. And one of the main reasons why they have uniforms in school is to keep outside influence out, right? Like, who has the latest trendy bluey backpack? Who has the latest dinosaur backpack or the Tamagotchi, right? Like, that's essentially what they're trying to like keep out, because they understand that those are key distractions that keep kids from learning. But to the other aspect of it, it's like the school is meant to indoctrinate people. I feel like we are being, at an early age, you're indoctrinated whether or not you want to believe it. There are things in life that we learn as we get older that become more apparent that we were lied to in school.
Yeah. Well, and then also, too, I think, too, because we've heard a lot, especially lately, about, well, you shouldn't indoctrinate your kids into a religion. The only people who say that out loud are the people who want to indoctrinate your kids into their religion, and theirs is just a secular one.
So true. A worldly one.
I find that most of the complaints people have to try and shepherd you back into these trappings of modern society, they just want to do it in the other direction. They're upset because you're going to prevent them from doing so. 9 times out of 10.
They don't want to feel judged or ashamed for, you know, an
being
absolute truth.
degenerate sinners.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a violation of absolute truth.
Yep.
So-
Charlie Kirk is literally one of my favorite people in the world.
I love
man.
Charlie
Kirk. Just to see him go into these, you know, hostile territories,
These universities.
and just like take questions, you know, and just pick that apart, and just his way of thinking, dude. If I could think like that, that would just be such a blessing.
If my brain could store more information.
And he's not even, dude. He didn't even go to college. Right?
Yeah,
Like, he
right.
just-
Well, and some of the, I mean, some of the most not educated but smartest people in the world didn't go to college, you know, and they're not trades workers. They just are information. They opened up a index, a Rolodex, or a Wikipedia and started learning. Right, like they taught themselves. Self-learners.
That's another thing too. Ty Lopez said, he said the greatest gift a father could give his son is his Rolodex.
Oh, I
It's
believe
his
it.
network, you know.
Isn't Ty Lopez the guy who did the my Lamborghini in my garage?
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
more important thing is my bookcases because of knowledge.
Yeah. Dude. People can say whatever they want about Ty Lopez, but dude,
He
Ty
was smart
Lopez,
about a lot of things.
Yeah. He's a smart dude. He's just kind of living that life.
That's good marketing. I still know exactly who he is. I still remember the Lamborghini, and I still remember the bookcases. So hey,
I listened to a lot of his
crazy
stuff. One of his coolest things that he ever said, I heard back in 2013, and it was interesting timing. 2014. It was interesting timing because I was in a very toxic relationship with an insecure person, and I was a little insecure myself at the time. But when I heard this video, he said that toxic, like insecure people, are a cancer. You know, you can have a low self-esteem, because if you have a low self-esteem, you're not going to try to bring people down, right? High self-esteem people, they're not going to try to keep you down. Insecure people, when you're down, they're going to keep you down. Mm-hmm. When you're up, they're going to bring you down, because they want to be the center of attention. Right. So he said, if there's ever an insecure person in your life, treat them like a cancer and cut them out. And honestly, when I heard that and I realized there was insecurities in my life, I had actually realized, like, wow, you know, I need to cut that part of my life out, because you got to be secure in order to be able to define what an insecure person is in your life and how they're going to affect how you move.
Yeah, and there's a pathological aspect. It's that old idea that misery loves company. Like they don't want you to move on. That's why a lot of people, especially abusive people, will separate you from your friends and your social groups and your family, because they want you all to themselves so they can do whatever they want with you. You know, it's a very, very common problem that I think people who have large amounts of insecurity follow through.
Yeah, and narcissism is, one of the primary qualities, or two of the primary qualities, are pride and insecurity, and they both feed into each other in this predatory aspect, which then, they isolate their target, and in order to control them and keep them under, and then make them feel awful, like, they're the lifeline to that person,
right?
So that they feel important about what they're doing. It's always interesting, because especially in like our industry, people will move, from out of state and be solo, and that's always a red flag to me. I think, okay, what'd you do over there in Florida? You know what I mean? What are you doing over here now? You just they start adding people all in your network, and I've seen a couple people move through, and I just it's the flag is up. I don't know, it's just kind of you might be charismatic, but I'm on to you, buddy.
But what's weird too is, like, and tying it back a little into more like the religion, is like a lot of those people are not self-proclaimed, but proclaimed to be godly followers, right? And they're the ones that commit these indoctrinations of bringing and separating people from their true loves and from the people that actually care about them and their following of God, and bring them into their world, right? Like,
it's how well they've mastered their script of whether or not they can become cult leaders.
Yeah,
I feel
true.
like that's their ideal goal, like to be worshipped is where they want to be, and so if they leave a group, but they've had 3 different groups to master that pitch, but ultimately they are a salesperson that is just selling that product in order to end goal get worshipped. And then at some point it starts to work.
100%.
Yeah. We've seen documentaries all over the place on people
Netflix.
like that.
Netflix, except they're burying bodies and doing other stuff and moving to other states.
I have a guilty admission, completely off topic.
Oh, good.
I'm on season 5, episode 13 of Breaking Bad. Finally.
What?
Finally?
You just started?
First time, yeah.
What season are you on?
Season 5.
Season.
I just hit season 5 right after
Dog.
Fring dies.
So.
I think he died. I don't know if he died.
Hey, wait, I haven't seen it.
So I started. This is crazy. So I started watching Breaking Bad, and it was my pact with myself. I made a vow to myself. I will only watch this when I'm doing steady state cardio. So I started watching the show in 2015.
Oh my God.
Does that tell you how much steady state cardio I've done?
You've done no steady state cardio. I wouldn't even say you're doing. I wouldn't even say you're doing it. You're picking it back up.
Well, tell him by the,
Yeah. I don't know. Not everybody can be a rock climber, Mr. Inner Thigh.
innerthighs.com, which brings us to our next topic. Our proud sponsor of the
We
day
have a sponsor today?
is Unspeakable Fruit Blocks Sours.
Hand it over.
Yeah, give me some.
If you haven't tried these, they're made with real fruit juices, no dyes, no preservatives, real sugar, and sugar is the #1 ingredient on the package. Not only do they taste great, but they taste even better.
They're quite good. I'm a big fan of like keto gummies and other things. They're not keto, but they taste very good, especially compared to the keto ones.
And what I like about them is that they are actually true to taste, unlike your other candies that are sour candies where you get a nasty sour aftertaste on your mouth, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And it just straight tastes like dookie for a while.
What are the odds?
These are super sweet, super sour, and they taste like they're supposed to taste. Apple, strawberry. Get them in the TikTok shop right now.
So 15 pieces are 110 calories and 18 grams of sugar, which by
Not
comparison, that's not bad. You know, like you shouldn't. I'm at a point in my age in my life, I can't finish bags of candy, and I shouldn't.
This you could probably finish.
I'm afraid to try it.
It's addicting.
Do you have a bunch of fiber in it? No, thank goodness. That's the problem with keto gummies. You eat 7 of them, and it's mostly fiber, and then you have some colonic issues later on.
Oh man, this is I'm gonna start a thing. You ready? Whenever I love who we're sponsored by, I'm gonna give it a oh yeah. Oh,
It's definitely worthy in my opinion. It's pretty good.
How many out of 5 oh yes would you give it?
Like 4.2. 4.2. Oh yes. Out of 5.
That's gonna be a 5 for me. 5 oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, good job. Good job,
Yeah,
guys.
well done.
This surpasses Sour Patch Kids for me.
I like how on the packaging it says in bold lettering, no red dye 40.
That's the big one. Now, for me, what would make them a 5 is if it had twice the malic acid, if it was much more sour. I'm a sour fiend.
Yeah.
I was a Warhead kid. I love those.
I was a Warhead kid too.
Yeah.
Well, and they make juices
Probably why I'm
too,
an alcoholic
like
now.
actual juice boxes.
Nice. There you go. Yeah, makes
So
sense.
we'll have to try them out. We'll have to hit them up. But if you're looking for a good candy,
There it is.
this is your good candy. Unspeakable's Sour Fruit Blocks. Sour fruit blocks. Made with real fruit juice, no artificial flavors or colors, no GMO, no red dye 40. Tastes great, just like it says on the package. Get yourself some in the TikTok shop down below.
And 5 out of 5 oh yes.
And 5 out of 5. Oh, yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah,
that was a good one. Dang.
I might practice that a little bit. No, I'm just joking.
That's amazing. So did you guys watch the draft?
Oh, hell no.
No? Cool.
You know, I don't care
You
about
guys-
sports.
Cool.
You been playing that foosball, not Ricky Bobby Boucher?
Yeah, no, for all you football fans out there, Shadur took a slide to my lovely Browns. So we're going to figure out how to mess that up again.
It's going to be another Johnny Manziel.
I don't know
Nightmare.
any.
I don't know about Johnny Manziel. That was something else.
I don't know anything about the league, but I will say I do know the Browns suck. So I'm excited to see how that goes for them.
Okay. Well, I mean, thankfully I don't have any feelings, so I didn't feel that at all.
Well, your feelings must be like grayscale rock, dude, because honestly, the amount of suck that I've heard about them, you're probably used to it at this point.
It's true. You can say a lot about a Browns fan, but you can't say we're not loyal.
Yeah, hey, true that. Through thick and thin, mostly when it's thin, you know what I'm saying?
Did you see the kid that prank called Shadur too?
Yeah, then he had to come out and apologize, even though it was hilarious.
Did they make him apologize?
Yeah, absolutely.
I saw him getting roasted on like TikTok, and people were like, "Oh, he should face criminal charges. That's messed
So
up."
fucking
Come on.
stupid.
I'm like, come on.
Yeah,
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. He shouldn't
feel
have had to
bad.
apologize. Frankly, it was so
when did
funny.
we as a society become so freaking soft?
Internet.
Like, seriously. I mean, you go back to like high school days in the late 90s. I mean, even 80s, like late 90s, early 2000s. We're kind of getting soft there a little bit. But hazing, the word hazing was openly interpreted.
Yeah.
I mean, we have stories that you'd be like, man, today they'd consider that abuse and somebody be going to jail. But we as society have become so soft. You can't even do a prank on somebody.
Well, I mean, I'm the closest one to being school age in here. When I was in high school, I mean, like, zero tolerance policy for anything. You couldn't say anything. There were tons of leftist ideological symbols and goals in each classroom. Like, you couldn't do anything.
So ask Charles who Papa Roach is.
You know who Papa Roach is, right?
I've heard one of his songs. I know that he's not an insect. He's a person, and he makes music. That's like where it begins and ends for me. I have no idea who that guy is other than that. He is a person.
Yo,
right?
it's a tear my heart open. Little off tune, but
No idea.
no.
Nope.
No.
Not a Papa Roach.
Sell
dude.
myself short.
More of an Arctic Monkeys guy, honestly. You
Oh,
probably
okay.
tell I grew up in Austin.
Dom knew who Papa Roach is over Charles.
Well, Don is cultured. Dom is cultured.
Yeah.
He's a cultured fella.
I feel like Charles goes home and reads the dictionary. To
Pretty
get
much.
these elaborate words.
You know, David and I were talking about our word of the day segments.
Oh, yeah?
And we were considering conspiring against you and just start learning very obscure words to start saying on the podcast so that you could obsess about not knowing a word.
Are you guys going to invent the words or find out?
No, find the words. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I look forward to knowing the word. It's going to be great.
He probably will know the word.
Speaking of, I have two today, if y'all will indulge me.
Oh, boy.
First one's going to be super quick.
Well, you already had one.
Which
I don't know if we
one?
get schizo nipple.
Oh, schizotypal. Oh, no, I mean topics.
So
yeah.
I know a song you've heard real fast.
Yeah.
You have to have heard this song. Cut my life into pieces.
Yeah, isn't
Oh,
that
that's
drowning?
way
Isn't that
out
drowning?
shit.
Resort.
Oh my
Isn't that drowning?
Suffocation, no breathing.
Isn't that drowning?
All right,
Drowning
Gary, let's hear
pool?
it. Let's hear it, Gary.
Is that drowning pool? Am I
No,
right?
it's Papa Roach Last Resort.
Okay.
It's literally in the first sentence.
Yeah. Okay. I've heard that. I've heard that song.
If you didn't recognize that song, it sounds nothing like that. That's why you didn't recognize it.
No, I knew the song.
to have
He's
it
like, what is
Yeah,
that, Michael
wrong.
Jackson?
All right,
No,
all
I
right,
grew up.
Gary.
I grew up on the internet
Here
in
we go, Gary.
2007. I've heard that
Sing
song
it.
1,000 times.
Here's the song, Gary.
No,
Let's do it.
we're not doing karaoke.
Do
Let's
it.
do it.
Do it. Wait, hold on.
What song is it?
It's Papa Roach.
Oh,
dude.
no, I can't do Papa Roach. It's out of my range. I haven't heard this song since 2005. I don't know the words. What do I look like? A
How do you
jukebox?
I thought you would know the words.
I don't know the words to anything. I karaoke all the time.
I've reached my last resort.
I don't have a
suffocation, no
I've got
breathing.
I've got 4 traumatic brain injuries in my life.
Don't give a F if I cut my arm bleeding.
Yeah, no, now we're banned. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, and on a lighter note, okay, so a judge gets arrested.
Oh, well, first one, actually, I wanted to talk about some of the recent findings from the James Webb Telescope. And the most interesting one is the discovery of planet K218b. I don't remember the distance. It's a very large amount of astronomical units. It's very, very far away. But the most interesting part about the planet that they found is through radio spectrometry. Hold on. That word I can never do off the top of my head. Yeah, radio spectrometry. They've actually found that part of the atmosphere of the planet is CO2 based. The interesting part about that is CO2 naturally dissipates after about 50 to 100 years. It has a half-life of, I think, 25 years, and then it gets down to 1/4 concentration, and it essentially breaks down to its constituent materials after that point at a higher level. This one has a very constant supply of CO2, which means there's likely microbial life in the waters.
So
Can you hand me some more of that crack, please?
Yeah, here.
Thank you.
that would actually be really good with some stuff in it.
Spoon and a lighter.
Spoon and a lighter.
All right, well, I thought
So
it was
micro-
interesting.
Okay. So aliens under the sea.
Potentially, microbial life for sure. The interesting thing is because it's 2.5 times the size of the Earth and it's a mostly water planet, even if they were to get to a point where they could create the technology to try and escape, the gravity well would be too intensely strong for them to do so. And in fact, the gravity well is so high on the planet, it's very likely that they will never be able to get out of the oceans or develop into really a larger than 1 meter creature. Because the gravity is actually going to keep them pinned not only to the planet, but to a lower form of life. It's one of the interesting things about the habitable zone that we live in and the size of the Earth.
Could that be why we see some of these alien-like fish and stuff? Like they magically just come to the shore?
Oh yeah, they come out of the deep ocean.
Yeah.
I think that's a high possibility for why, because when you get past, I think it's 100 meters, you're experiencing 2.5 atmospheres of pressure.
Yeah.
And then it increases quadratically as you go deeper and deeper. So when you're 1,000 meters under the sea, you are experiencing an intense amount of atmospheric pressure. And so most of these fish are very lightly cartilaginous, and they have to completely regulate their buoyancy and every other aspect of their existence. And if they come up, most of the time they just die right away because they can't handle the lack of pressure. Just the same way that we can't handle the pressure itself.
Interesting. So Ryan Garcia was right. The aliens do live in the sea.
I think it's a high possibility that if there were aliens, that's where they would reside.
So,
But why wouldn't they be in space? Because we're on a globe.
Yeah, we're in a globe, dude.
Well, if you want to have a base of operations, it would be under the water for sure. It's easier to hide.
See, so now you're starting to think like the flat earthers.
No, I have a brain. I wouldn't do that.
Because think about this. You're saying there's what is it called?
Microorganisms.
Microorganisms under the sea.
Yeah.
And if aliens were real, they would live under the sea. Well, what project was it? With the pilot, we talked about him several weeks ago. Pilot flew his plane into the hole in the ice in the Antarctica, and said that there's alien life under Antarctica.
North Pole.
No,
The whole
Antarctica.
of the North Pole.
No, I thought it was in Antarctica.
I don't know. The alien life question is always going to be really hard because we don't have any direct evidence of it. And then also it would be the question of, is carbon-based life the only type of life that exists?
So 1965, the U.S. military in Area 51 retrieved a UFO.
Yes.
It is said that we have recovered alien life form from that UFO.
Well, and then also there's the other aspect, not to confuse the topic, but they released additional photos and satellite telemetry of MH370, if I'm remembering the name of it right. That plane that disappeared
In the Atlantic.
I think it was-
Malaysian airport.
near Malaysia. Yeah. And it showed very convincingly some type of matter transportation that we can't possibly understand.
Really?
Yeah, it did.
When did that come out?
Like a week ago.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was released by the USCIS.
So Manifest is real. I'm telling you, dude, like they are not just making movies and TV shows for no reason. Like somebody is having this experience.
Yeah, well, and then also too, I mean, it goes along with Noam Chomsky's idea of manufacturing consent. They would have to kind of prep the public for a lot of these things, you know. I don't know if they're going to expose it or not. Now, back to the Roswell issue. I just don't trust the government. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
we can't go
who
into
knows?
Area 51. There's a lot of things that question, like they're actually digging up the soil in Area 51.
Yeah.
And there are containers and things under the ground.
well, and a lot of
the home
those
bases,
a lot of those bases too. Another big problem that nobody really talks about is a lot of that is where they tested things like defoliants that they used in the Vietnam War. It's where they tested the original chemtrails where they're dumping sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. That's where they were testing those things. So it's also a highly contaminated zone as well. So they have the perfect cover to never let anybody in there, which is really convenient.
Right. When I read an article too, like about that, it's just so crazy to think of like how, I guess, how controlled we are as a human society.
Yeah.
Like, and not just here in the States, like all over the world, right? Like, why does every country have a government, right? Like, it begs that question to be like, governments to control,
Yes.
right? And the level of control that they have in most government is pretty crazy. Like, they have a lot of control.
Yeah, and by no means I'm not a full-on libertarian. I don't believe that people would come together and self-elect to create roads in the type of society we have now. I think libertarianism is a pipe dream, as cool as it sounds. But the issue is too,
It's a gateway to anarchy.
Yes, exactly. Which is, I think, why it's being pushed on a large scale as well, because they want that.
Martial law.
I would say one of the biggest problems with the libertarian fantasy is that like we need some level of governance, but the problem is too we see now what happens on the other side of the coin. The government is clearly authoritarian. They've been so since 1945 or maybe even earlier with the Federal Reserve. So they don't really have to tell us, you know. It's unfortunate. I think we deserve to know what actually happened in the desert in Roswell.
I agree.
But until then, we don't know.
What's the most money y'all would want to make?
I think money is the root of all evil. I just want to be comfortable.
The love of money is the root of all evil. But what is the most money? Like, say you hit, what's that ceiling where you hit and you're thinking, okay, I'm good. My family's good.
Like on a consistent basis, like an annual thing, or is this just like a one lump sum?
Yeah, one lump sum.
The currency is inflating so quickly. Can you even put a number on it?
That's what I'm asking.
I don't know.
I'm probably like a tenth of the way there already, but I'd say like 100 mil.
Yeah,
I'd be comfortable.
probably. I mean, in the 80s, if you said 10 mil, that would be this equivalent. now,
Yeah.
too. So it's tough. It's tough for me to conceptualize.
100 milli?
100 milli.
Whoa, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a bit of money. See, I'm under the thing that I would tithe a lot of it though too.
Yeah, 10%.
10%.
Put that.
I'd probably do more like 15, 20.
Yeah.
You know.
You one-upper son of a gun. You.
No, I'm not a one-upper. I am just a very like people-oriented person. Like I love people. Like I don't care if you agree with me, don't agree with me. I love you. Like that's just my personality.
Yeah.
My heart's crying.
What do you think, Gary? What's your answer?
I was gonna say 10.
Yeah.
10 milli's cool, bro. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
10 million. I mean, I'd be set for life for 10 mil.
Yeah.
Like for sure.
Yeah.
Like I could manage.
I probably would stop grinding so hard. You know, just go buy something nice somewhere and invest the rest. And
Yeah, I mean, if you put 7 mil of that into a 5.5% money market too, you'd
yeah,
never have to work again.
Yeah, you know, just
Yeah.
But that also kind of begs the question too, because I noticed, you know, as I was growing up, it seems like when men stop working, they just kind of die.
That's true. You get any purpose.
I would never want to have so much money that I didn't have purpose anymore.
That's such a
I
good
mean,
point.
Look what happened to Jack from Twitter.
Who?
You know? Jack from Twitter. Jack Dorsey.
He died.
No, he's alive. No,
He
but,
died. Let's start a TikTok conspiracy. Jack Dorsey.
no, but look, when you look at him, it looks like he kind of lost his mind.
He did.
He made
I mean-
a lot of money, and I think he just didn't know what to do with himself anymore. Yeah, he just posts about social issues to like
Who's made
1,000
more though?
people.
Mark or Jack?
Mark for sure.
Mark.
Yeah,
But
Mark
he's
for
still
sure.
grinding.
Yeah,
And he still
absolutely.
looks young.
But that's because he has purpose, and he's probably also a reptile of some sort.
I think he is a reptile. Have you seen his pupils? His pupils just look stupid.
I'll tell you off air why I think that is. No, but he's.
Tell me the scientific reason why.
I definitely can't go. That would be worse, actually.
No, how
Yeah.
how could you not think that is not a reptilian?
He really does have reptilian features.
Like for real.
yeah.
Like how do you not think?
He's made a hell of a transformation. And when he was on the Rogan podcast, he looked pretty normal.
He was doing the Chad thing. I really
It's a good
think
look for him.
More people need to hire the PR firm that he hired that got him
for
to
sure.
make
See,
it.
and he
He
did
went
a
from
lot of-
alien to Chad.
He
in
did
like
a lot
5
of
years.
gaslighting on the Joe Rogan podcast, though.
For
like,
sure.
bro, I didn't want to have to filter and ban COVID-19 vaccine conspiracies, but I did, and I don't agree with them, but I did it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, I also think the problem with Facebook is too they're co-opted very quickly by the intelligence services as well.
It's the
for sure.
biggest social network in the country.
100%.
Well, and in the world. Basically.
So I would wonder
Except
how
for China.
I don't want to absolve him of responsibility, but I also wonder how much of the decision-making process is even his to make anymore. I would really wonder that, especially since Meta's
question.
publicly traded as well.
Yeah, now they
Yeah.
are. I mean, they're probably.
Being publicly traded is kind of the root of all evil too, when we really think about it.
I mean, leftists probably own more of Facebook than conservatives.
I wouldn't even
But
call it right-left. I would
Right.
say it's outside influences like the Saudis and the
There's
Chinese.
probably like 5 to 6 main elite people that actually own Facebook right now.
Yeah,
And it's
100%.
Mark probably still owns like 51% of it,
I don't think so.
or maybe 49%, and other people own 51%.
I don't know if he would want to even retain a controlling stake at that point. I bet he has a controlling stake in Meta, but I
Yeah.
don't know like with Facebook specifically. But now we're just speculating on things
Yeah.
we can't possibly know.
So at $7 million in
Mm.
a 5.5% money market, you would be netting $32,000 a month.
Yeah,
A month
that's
or a
big
year?
money.
A month.
Well, and if you rolled an additional 10% of that back into the money market too, with compounding interest, you would just take off.
You just keep rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would figure out how to get my expenses to like 7K, and then I'd roll like 7 into fun, and then the rest into the money market again,
Yeah.
and just bank.
Because what would that bring to it? Yeah, it's probably what. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's throw like 20K at it right now. Come on, dudes.
Hey, let's call Charles
Here, hold
Schwab
on.
right here on the phone.
Here, hold on. Let me call Charles Schwab.
Yeah.
That's why I don't
Let me get him on
understand,
the
like, people that chase that 100 mil, that 50,
Well, and
500 mil.
Again, I say a
no offense.
higher
I forgot
number
you said that
because
not throwing you under the bus.
No, I always
Yeah,
tell my wife, I'm
get
like,
under
you
the
know what?
bus,
If I
dude.
hit the jackpot tomorrow, like, I'm just gonna keep what we need. Like, I don't not keep what we want. Like, there's a difference between like people wanting money for monetary and for like goods, not wanting money for
Diddy parties.
Yeah.
for Diddy parties. Go to Costco and buy out all the baby lotion or baby oil.
Yeah.
Well, and that's I know there are differing opinions at the table about it. That's actually what I find so respectable about Elon Musk. You know.
Right. Somebody can come to him with $100 million idea, and he's like, "Here's your check."
Well, and not
Like-
even just that. The fact that he rolls his money back in, like he made enough money by creating and selling and co-founding eBay that he would never have to work again. Instead, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to build rockets instead and electric cars." I think that's a really interesting thing to do too. Now, I don't know if I 100% believe his motives of trying to make the world a better place. I think he wants to be the first person to land on Mars and colonize Mars because then he will have a permanent seat in human history. I think that's actually the reason why.
I don't think he ever will land on Mars because the Earth's flat. We live in a firmament, and he has a true heart of gold and doesn't want to deceive people.
Do you think? Yeah, I don't want to get into that. Well, I guess when we finally get the images, people will say that's not true too. So here's actually a fun thought experiment. So if in 50 years we get to the point of commercialization in space because obviously right now it's mostly scientists, it's mostly astrophysicists, it's mostly people maintaining and taking care of the existing infrastructure. Eventually there will be a point where we have to have space janitors of some sort.
Oh, for sure.
Especially cleaning up the orbital debris that's in the atmosphere itself. Do you think at that point people will give up on flat Earth when there are thousands of people in space?
I think if satellites start falling out of the sky, we have this orbital decay of product falling randomly out of the sky.
Yeah.
More people will believe it.
We have that now.
I haven't seen a satellite fall out of the sky.
We have that now. Yeah, it happens. I think the most recent one that was visible over over Texas was like in 2018, if I remember correctly. It was the deorbiting of a Russian satellite.
Let's see. Satellite falls from sky.
Yeah.
Satellites don't fall from sky in the way a rock would. Instead, they orbit Earth due to gravity and momentum. When a satellite's operational life ends, it's designed to enter the Earth's atmosphere and burn up due to friction in the air.
Mm-hmm. Because otherwise it's space debris. And I mean, if it's moving at 13,000 miles per hour because it's in a geosynchronous orbit and it hits the side of your capsule, you're super dead.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah,
I'm not like...
I love
I'm not 100% flat earther. Like,
I know, man.
I'm not like... My only reason for believing it is like if the Bible were to tell me there was this round spherical globe like land that civilization lived on and we're to follow the word of God, like I'd be like, heck yeah, the ball, like it's round.
Yeah.
But I don't trust scientists enough to 100% say like yes, right? Like that Earth is round because I mean you got to remember I have a software engineering background.
Yeah,
like I'm a pretty smart.
Did you work on
dude.
GPS systems?
GPS systems, yes, but when we're talking about GPS systems, we're looking at linear paths, not not something that's going straight up. It's going out.
Yeah.
Right. Because when you think about a GPS system, you're looking at a tower that has a signal that's sent out. If you've ever wondered why that satellite's not faced straight up, it's because the satellites are not straight up. They're talking to each other.
Yeah. It's like a web. It's like a network.
It's like they create this network, and I think that's why a lot of people believe like 5G is terrible for our health, because it puts off so much radiation, and the frequency of it causes cancer, things like that.
Yeah.
So they don't want these big cell towers near them, but also because it's not just like it's not directional, right? It's not just firing straight up; it's firing in all directions. Kind of like your Wi-Fi, like your modem, right? Like your modem wouldn't work if it just shot straight up to communicate with the satellite.
Well, and the technology is all derived too from point Doppler radar systems, which are the first radar systems they installed, the F4 Phantom, that were able to ping targets because they had an array instead of a singular dish. It's an array of dishes that are able to create a wave technique that allows you to isolate exactly where an object is, where it's going, its velocity.
Yeah,
and it's the same system that goes through GPS now too. It's not even a singular source; it's multiple different sources on each satellite.
Right. See, and like so, Mark Roebler. I don't know if you know who he is or not, but he is actually he worked for NASA. I believe it was NASA, but he's some sort of scientist, and now he makes these little boxes for kids that are actually really cool. They're called Crunch Labs, and he sends them like these science projects that your kids can assemble and do. But anyway, he built a selfie orbit thing and sent it up into the atmosphere, basically to take selfie pictures. So you could send it a picture, and within a fraction of a couple seconds, like it takes a photo over your longitude, latitude, looking at the Earth.
Yeah.
Well, people are starting to call it out because they're like, how come every time it takes a picture, it's nighttime on Earth?
Yeah.
So you guys gave me an idea when you brought up Elon. So I'm going to tweet or X Elon right now. And I'm going to say, yo, Elon Musk, tag. Ready to break real estate like you broke Twitter? My team built New Home Buddy, a badass startup that helps realtors find new construction without getting Zillowed to death. It's fast, it's free, it's about to eat the industry alive. You in? Hashtag Musk moves.
I hope it works, but you're going to have to get past all the people in his comments shilling fake Bitcoin wallets. That's the hard part. Yeah.
Sign up for my 4X.
Yeah, no, and I totally know you're playing devil's advocate, and I think that's the interesting part. I like the intellectual conversation around it because it makes me think about it too.
So,
and also, I would say one thing
I like
too.
how you guys are respectful about it too.
You have to be.
You know,
yeah,
you
dude,
guys.
it's open dialogue because I'm not a flat earther. I'm not going to commit 100% other than what the Bible tells me. Like that's my argument. Like on flat Earth, I'm not saying like I'm saying God told me there's four corners to the earth, that we live in a firmament that separates the seas from the water below, or the land below, and that's my argument.
And my response to that is I take the Bible the same way I take the scientists who are telling these things. I take it seriously, not literally. So
I asked my pilot friend, again, I refreshed his memory. I asked him, hey, man, so you want to do this podcast? Or we'd love to have you on, brother. And he said, oh, yeah, dude, I've just been tired when I get home. Like, he flies for FedEx, and he's also a commander in the Navy Reserve. So, but I was like, hey, man, we talk about everything. Talk about flat Earth, round Earth. And he was like, oh, yeah, I mean, fucking Earth round. So, it's obviously. And I was like, okay, all right. Well, but still, we'd love to have you on. You know what I mean? So, so I want to hear your story.
And I was looking more into the firmament question too, and what I think that was. And again, this is the way that I perceive it. It's seriously, not literally. That is the most accurate way for a group of people pre-scientific consensus on what the atmosphere is made of to describe the fact that the sky is blue. Because other than that, the only reference point for a large blue seeming mass or a large blue concentration at that level in that expanse would be the ocean or a lake or a stream or a river or pond. So it's a poetic way to describe a phenomenon they didn't understand.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion on it.
Which is, I agree. Like, that's people looking up, if we're going to the medieval ages of like the early days of Jesus Christ, if he's looking up, the sky's blue, right? Like it must be water. Yeah. Like the direct correlation between the two are there. But looking from the outside in, if we're believing these pictures from space, where'd the blue sky go?
Well, and that's a good question, because you would only be able to perceive the blue sky from one direction, and the reason why is because the light is coming in. And I talked about radio spectrometry earlier. Yeah. Our eyes do radio spectrometry. The reason why this is green is because the color that's implanted on this can reflects that color specifically, right?
Right.
All color is just a reflection of the normal spectrum of like full spectrum light, right?
Right.
Especially from the sun. When you're an observer on the actual Earth itself and you're looking up through it, it's visible because the light is coming from that direction. And why is the sky not blue at night if it's water?
Yeah.
You know what I
See,
mean?
and what's funny too is I watched what's the guy's name? I always forget his name. Anyway, he got into a submarine and he was on a tour of the Antarctica. And they got into a submarine and they went 100 feet down. And he's like, I'm going to do the Santa Claus, the hat trick, right? They take a Santa hat because it's painted red. And you can literally watch the red color disseminate and it turn dark because of the light. Because the sun doesn't orbit far enough south to give it enough light that 100 feet down in the Antarctic is like being thousands of feet down in, the Pacific.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's exactly it. It's like light has a minimum distance that it can go through any kind of resistance. It has, because it's particle or wave based, it has its own resistive pressures as well that it faces. But the other thing that I was thinking about too, last time we had this conversation, was Eratosthenes. He was the one who originally put together the idea that the Earth is round.
Yeah.
He was the first Greek philosopher to figure it out, and he actually died in Alexandria, Egypt, in 194 BC.
Was he suicided?
No, he died of old age, if I remember correctly. Well, back then, old age was probably like 62 as well. But even at the time of Jesus, the common understanding was that the Earth was round. And then also he was the one. The reason why he decided to measure the Earth in the first place was he was an astronomer. He was mapping out the cosmos. Do you know what retrograde is? When Mercury, for example, is in retrograde, it's when it appears, instead of continuing its circle through the heavens, it comes back in on itself and then comes forward again. If that was correct and the Earth was heliocentric, it was in the center of the universe, we would note that all of the different planets would follow almost like a chrysanthemum. It would look like they were drawing a flower in the sky, which doesn't make any sense from a physical aspect. Instead, what we're seeing is they're on separate orbits from us, and we are also orbiting the sun. I think if there's anybody in the comments who really, really believes in flat Earth, I would love to discuss that idea. I think that's a really good rabbit hole to go down, and I think it's actually probably one of the better proofs that you can prove without having to actually go measure the different latitudes and longitudes like he did and show that there's a 15-degree tilt not only in the rotation of the Earth, but also, I believe, across the various longitudes, there is a 15% shift that you can see between where the sun appears at a specific time of the day.
I wonder what kind of app he used to measure.
Yeah.
It was a stick in the ground.
Yeah.
And a sundial, funny enough.
Interesting name for an app.
So, I mean, we're talking about the Earth being round, but round doesn't necessarily equate to
globular is what his,
right?
Yeah, that's what he hypothesized.
So if let's just say the Earth was flat, right? If it were flat, would it measure the same circumference, 29,400 miles round, as if it were a ball?
I don't see why it wouldn't, because a sphere is just a circle that's superimposed in 3D space.
Because here's my theory, is if we're measuring round, right, the outer diameter is going to be, of course, wider, like it's going to have a bigger circumference than the inner circle.
Yes.
Outer circle being your South America, measuring from point A, going around the world and coming back to point A.
Yeah.
You're then closer to what we would consider as the equator, which would be like, let's just say Texas, right? Texas, you measure round, it's going to be a lot shorter distance than it is from South America, a point in the southernmost part of the country.
If the Earth was a flat circle, yes.
Right. Well, that's what I'm getting at. But his test was only done from 1 point.
2 points.
2 points.
I think he even went further south and did a third point, but I would have to go back and look at his notes on the subject.
And he got the same exact measurement.
No, there was a difference of 15-degree tilt at the same time during the day.
But what I'm getting at, he got the same distance around.
Oh, he didn't measure the distance around. What he measured was where the shadow that was cast by his stick at noon when the sun is at its highest point. I believe it was close to the summer solstice, so when it's truly above, instead of the winter solstice where it dips in the sky.
Because we could still be on a plane and still be on a tilt.
You could put a plane in a fishbowl.
But the tilt would be consistent because we would be viewing the sun from the same relative position, unless the sun was close enough, as close as the moon, it would be the same.
Because if a plane was on a tilt, water would still flow south, like it'd still flow down.
What do you mean?
Like the rivers.
Oh.
It-
What about the Nile? The Nile
The
flows
Nile
north.
flows up north.
And then also too,
But
how
look,
do you
if you-
explain the hemispheric differences in, for example, when you're in Australia, the toilet flushes the opposite direction?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I wish I was blessed with y'all's kind of autism. I got the dumb one.
Yeah. You got the fun one, Gary.
We have like 5 minutes though, guys.
Yeah.
So, any closing thoughts? You want to push your topic to the beginning of next episode?
Yeah, we definitely, when we come back, I really want to talk about, especially with the recent developments with the dishonorable Hannah Dugan, the judge. She's a Milwaukee County judge who smuggled a known gang member out of his domestic violence hearing with the victim present and with the state's attorney present, so that she could make sure he avoided capture by ICE.
Yeah. Oh,
And
wow.
she's now currently facing criminal charges, rightfully so. And really, I think that her charges, I'm not a lawyer, this isn't legal advice, it's just my opinion as a layperson. I think her charges should probably escalate to material support for a terroristic organization.
Wow.
Yeah, and she should be facing 20 years plus and potentially capital punishment.
So join us next week on Truth Disorder when we dive into this controversy.
Judge Hannah Dugan.
Judge Hannah Dugan.
Got to be fun.
Any closing thoughts, Gary?
I'm still reeling from everything you guys were just saying. That's a lot of information.
Did we just nerd out?
Yeah.
1,000%.
We drank Gary under the table with the fountain of knowledge.
Yeah.
The liquor of understanding.
That the earth is a globe.
Well, they always say the fastest way to understanding in a marriage is to liquor.
Hey, liquor. I hardly know her.
Well, that was another perplexing and delicious episode of Truth Disorder. I want to thank you guys for making it through the entire thing. If you're still here, thank you so much. And, we pray that you guys actually have an amazing rest of your week. And we look forward to coming out here, having some laughs and talking about just a whole bunch of different kind of controversies and current events with you next time. So from your best friends at Truth Disorder, God bless, and we look forward to next time.
And don't forget to subscribe and turn on bell notifications.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah.